Mental health illnesses pose a substantial burden to the child, and this could progress into adulthood if the child does not get the treatment in time. So we adults who are raising these children or who are supporting these children, it's very important that we do equip ourselves with the skills and the knowledge that would help these children to thrive and be able to, gain or achieve the emotional resilience that they need. Now, I'm going to be discussing 3 elements that we adults have to be aware of. And the first one is the overlap of symptoms. Because when a child experiences mental health issues, it's most likely that there is something that is more than what we are observing. Secondly, I'm going to also be looking at behaviors that children may learn in order to help them to cope with the mental health issues that they're experiencing. Thirdly, I'm going to be looking at the difficulties that a child might experience in the long run, and this would be the social, emotional, physical, and economic difficulties. Okay. Let me start off with the overlap of symptoms. I'm going to use an example of a child that I worked with. This child was aged 8. The parent was concerned because the child did not want to get on the bus. Now, this went on to an extent that the child did not want to, attend school. She started missing school. Every morning there was something wrong with her. So she would have headaches in the morning. She would have some form of, stomach bug. She would have physical symptoms in the morning. There would be something wrong with the child in the morning. And as a result, that impacted on her performance at school. The parent was so concerned that she came in school and, talked to the teacher, and the teacher referred the child to me for assessment. When I assessed the child, it was very clear that the child was fearful. The child reported that she was fearful because she did not want to come to school. If she got on the bus and came to school, then something would happen to her mom. She did not want to lose her mom. She did not want something to happen to her mom. Now, when that happened, initially she didn't, think that it would, get to a situation where she would, start feeling that she was different. But as time went on, she developed negative core beliefs about herself. And then, she started feeling that she was different. She started thinking that she was not good enough. And as time progressed and she couldn't get on the bus, the mom had no option but to get on the bus with her, which was sort of like a reinforcement of her being different. And these negative core beliefs then resulted in low self-esteem because she lost confidence in herself. So during assessment, she reported the symptoms that were also indicative of low self-esteem. So not only was she anxious, but she was also experiencing low self-confidence. Statistics show that 80 to 90% of children meet a criteria of more than one mental health disorder. So we who are raising these children who are working with these children, it's crucial that we do understand that what we are observing may be just a tip of the iceberg. So getting to understand a bit more about what it is that they are going through will be very crucial. Making the referrals, if we have to, would be very crucial and as early as possible. If we don't, then these children could end up learning behaviors that they would use to help them to cope with what they're experiencing. Mainly as they grow older and get into adolescence. As adolescents, it may be paramount that they mask the pain that they are going, the emotional pain that they are going through. And that could, mean that they would have to learn behaviors that are very unhelpful. These behaviors would include smoking. We've seen teenagers smoking. but they're smoking because they need to conform or because they need to cope with the pain that they're experiencing. They would learn to use alcohol, and unfortunately, that could lead to alcohol addiction. They could learn to be physically inactive, and if they're physically inactive, that would lead to obesity, or it could lead to other complications. They could learn to use substances to cope with the pain that they are going through. That's substance misuse. Then there would be insomnia, sleep disturbance, because they're spending all the night thinking about or worrying about what the morning is going to bring for them, the experiences that they are going through. They would learn gambling later in life. They would also, end up in gang lifestyles. And that's because of conformity, because they have to conform. They have to, show their friends that they're worth something. So they would learn to, do things that others would approve. So they would get into behaviors that will lead to approval. And because of the need of approval, you would find that these children get themselves into gangs, and unfortunately, that is something that is happening in society, and increasingly it is becoming a problem. So for us to prevent our children from getting into gangs, getting into addictions, getting chronic illnesses, it's very crucial that we equip ourselves with the knowledge and skills now and help them. Okay. Now, if we do not do that, they will go through adolescence with these unhelpful behaviors, and unfortunately that then would lead into difficulties in adulthood. And these difficulties would include social, emotional, physical, and economic difficulties. You would find that these children would struggle to form and maintain relationships, so they would have interpersonal relationship difficulties. This would mean then they would have difficulties, at work, in their intimate relationships, in their marriages, if they're married, and with family, members. And over time, they will be isolated and they would feel lonely. And this is just basically a reinforcement of the mental health issues that they are already experiencing. They would also have impaired occupational functioning, which means that they would have difficulties finding employment or even keeping employment if they got one, because they cannot relate in the work situation. Also, because of the fact that they cannot keep a job or they cannot find a job, then it's most likely that they will have poor quality of life. Because of that, you would find that they would also have medical conditions and psychiatric conditions. And this would be overlapping, or both of them at the same time. Additionally, they would also be experiencing this chronic depression and anxiety. And it's not a good place to be. We wouldn't like our children to get to chronic depression and anxiety, because it would mean that they would live a life of isolation, or they would live a life of fear all the time, and we don't want our children to get there. If they are fearful, then you would find that or they are withdrawn, you would find that they'll get themselves in a situation of helplessness and hopelessness. And if they're helpless or if they're hopeless, then what may happen is that they would feel that life is not worth living. And if they feel that life is not worth living consistently, then it's most likely that they would get to a point of wanting to take their lives. So we need to do something now to prevent these children from getting to that point. We as the adults who are raising these children or who are working with these children, if you would like to learn how to help a child or how to support a child experiencing mental health issues, click on the link below. I have developed a program that will help you to gain the knowledge and skills that you need to help a child to thrive, to help a child to achieve emotional resilience. Please do subscribe to this channel, as I will be sharing more information on mental health issues and relationships.